That was part of the plan. Yeah, I don't really see order in the universe. I see some basic physics guidelines that we can find pretty universally, and no pun intended, but pun granted. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm not an atheist. I don't get into religion because I see the futility in it. You either can prove there's a God or you can't. And there's really, no one has proven either yet. So the reasoning that I've heard so far, if I just go by logic, makes me lean toward atheism. But I'm not ready to commit and say there is no God. How can you say there is not something that you have no proof doesn't exist? It doesn't make sense to me. And Stabby says, atheists don't say there is no God. They just say there's no evidence for God. Okay, if that's what they say, I can understand that. But that doesn't make them very much different than an agnostic or agnostic, does it? So that's why I always attributed atheists with the kind of nihilistic attitude that you would expect someone who doesn't believe in any afterlife to subscribe to. So anyway, what he described as order is not order. He would have to give us a better definition of order. And then I want him to make that leap again, because this one always entertains me, from there's order in the universe to there's a giant invisible dude that made it all happen. Because that one gets me. I hope there's a God. I hope there's a very cool heaven afterlife, and we got Wi-Fi on our halos, and we can wear our faggoty angel wings and stuff. That'll be pretty cool, especially if we can play whatever music we like. And if I can tie my neighbor down on a cloud near where blind people are playing yard darts, I could find that pretty entertaining, sure. Instead of just laying in a coffin, and becoming worm bait, I could see that being a better option. But nobody knows. Nobody knows. Crossing over, I hear dumb people. We're all a shade of stupid crossing over, and the question is, what shade are you? I think humans take ourselves way too seriously as far as what we've accomplished. We haven't come very far, folks. And if you look on the grand time scale, we've got a long way to go. I mean, we're just a blip right now in history, and we got a long way to go. We're just getting our prefrontal cortex and cognitive abilities expanded. We've got 5 senses. For all we know, there's 100 senses out there, and we need to develop those. And I was listening to some TED Talks lately about brain number of neurons, which they used to think was 100 billion, and it's like 83 billion, but that's not really so important, except for the fact that in the prefrontal cortex and the frontal cortex and the frontal lobe, we have so many more neurons than, say, a chimpanzee or an ape has in that area of their brain. So it's not about brain size, it's about the locale of the neurons and the networks inside. And because if it was just big brains, well then, just think about big animals that aren't really doing calculus. It's funny because philosophy has always posed the question, how can humankind use its brain to figure out the meaning and value of it, the brain? And as if for some reason using a tool then negates the possibility that you can use that tool to diagnose that tool. So very, very interesting questions posed by philosophy about the human brain. We're going to talk a little bit about the human brain this episode, not too much. Do I have any other freakishly freaky clips? I tell you, that media clip, it made me sad, folks. It made me sad to hear Americans on TV speaking like that. And I know some of them sort of, I'll tell you what we'll do. What do I got here? I got some Penn Jillette, who thinks that I, and people like me, are condescending because we tell others to find their way through instead of this is right and this is wrong. Let's play that one real quick, and I'm going to turn my mic off so that this gets up to volume, and we'll come back to it in a minute. Listen to this. Penn Jillette, why tolerance is condescending.
Said a lot. Sure. If you want to go to most or all, then no. But there's certainly people. There's a great quote by the physicist. What's his name? Weinberg? Oh, I don't want to. Oh, I hate getting. Yeah, is that what it is? Steve Weinberg. The quote of with or without religion, good people will do good things and bad people do bad things. But for good people to do bad things, that takes religion. I'm not sure that's word for word. Almost certain it isn't. But it's important. I think it's not religion. It's much deeper than that. My beef is not with religion per se. My difference of opinion is with objective and subjective reality. Einstein said, the big question is, when you turn away, is the tree still there? And I talked to Richard Feynman about this and Murray Gell-Mann. There's a feeling that in particle physics, the experimenter effect, a lot of that stuff is distorted. I believe very strongly that there is a physical reality that my perception does not change. Now, you can make the argument that we're all just brains in jars, the matrix, and that all of this is an illusion. And that is an airtight argument. You can't refute it. But let's just say it's not that. I think there's a real reality out there. And the people who say, I believe in God because I feel that there's some higher power in the universe, the problem I have with that is that once you've said you believe something that you can't prove to someone else, you have completely walled yourself off from the world. And you've essentially said no one can talk to you and you can talk to no one. You've also given license to everybody else who feels that. If you say to me, I can't prove it, Penn, but I have a feeling in my heart that there is an power over everything that connects us. Why can't Charlie Manson say, I can't prove it, but I have a feeling that the Beatles are telling us to kill Sharon Tate and that the race riots are coming? Why can't Al-Qaeda say, I have a feeling in my heart that we need to kill these particular infidels? Why can't the men who tortured and disfigured Ayaan Hirsi Ali, why isn't what they feel in their heart valid? The problem is, if you have a sense of fairness, simply by saying you believe in a higher power because you believe in it, you've automatically given license to anyone else that wants to say that. So I would rather be busted on everything I say, and I am. When you've when you've put yourself out on television and on radio as someone who really does believe in objective truth, there is not a sentence that I will say in this interview that won't get 3 or 4 tweets of somebody with information busting me on it. And they're right. Very rarely am I busted on something where I'm right. If someone's taking the trouble to let me know I've said something wrong, chances are I'm wrong. So, but that's the world I want to live in. I want to live in a world of a marketplace of ideas where everybody is busted on their bullshit all the time, because I think that's the way we get to truth. That is also what respect is. What we call tolerance nowadays, maybe always, I'm always skeptical of the nowadays thing. I don't think things get that much different. What we call tolerance is often just condescending. It's often just saying, okay, you believe what you want to believe, that's fine with me. I think true respect, it's one of the reasons I get along so much better with fundamentalist Christians than I do with liberal Christians. Because fundamentalist Christians, I can look them in the eye and say, you are wrong. They also know that I will always fight for their right to say that. And I will celebrate their right to say that. But I will look them in the eye and say, you're wrong. And fundamentalists will look me in the eye and say, you're wrong. And that, to me, is respect. The more liberal religious people who go, there are many paths to truth, you just go on and maybe you'll find your way, is the way you talk to a child. And I bristle at that. So I do very well with proselytizing hardcore fundamentalists. And at a very deep level, I respect them. And at a very deep level, I think I share a big part of their heart. I think it is.
Yeah, Stabby, it surprises me to see you saying what you're saying there because uh, if an answer isn't black and white, why do you want someone to tell you it's black and white? That surprises me. I'm surprised that. I wonder. Well, here's the thing. Do you agree with just the beginning of what he said or with the end? Because guess what? I'm that tolerant person. And I'm not being condescending by saying find your own way. I'm saying if I don't have the goddamn answer yet, I'm not going to tell you it's black or white. I'm going to hope you do find the answer. I don't have the answer. How is that condescending? If everything were black and white, we wouldn't need tolerance at all. We wouldn't need it. Because you could prove that being a black person was either good or bad. Or being a Muslim, or being a Christian, or being a transsexual was either good or bad. And if you could prove those things, if there were one black or white answer, then you wouldn't need tolerance. Tolerance covers everything in the gray area. So that's being condescending, honestly? Well, then I'm going to be condescending. Because I'm not stupid enough to sit here and say, I know the answer. Because that makes people feel good. That is a primitive behavior and thinking model, to say, I know the answer and be wrong. But it feels good to him to have a fundamentalist Christian say something, this happened, Jonah in the belly of the whale, okay, this happened, so he can say, no, you're wrong? Why can't a Christian say, I don't really understand if that was allegory or not. I think there's a lesson in that story, and I hope you figure it out for yourself. So he basically is asking you to be the bowling pin. Don't be a weak bowling pin, stand strong, so that he can throw the bowling ball at you. That's what he wants. He's looking for easy targets. He's really looking for simplicity. This is the thinking model of your traditional conspiracy theorists that believe in all the conspiracies. They cannot understand difficult situations, so they want it black or white. Give it to me black or white. I don't want to get deep in a thinking thing here and lose my way. You look at something like 9/11, and then you look at the conspiracy theories, and it's so much easier to say, our government did it. See, that makes sense. Our government did it. That's what they did. They wanted to boost the defense industry, so our government did it. Instead of saying, how could fill in 9/11 Commission report here happen? And the truth is that there is a pile of evidence the size of Mount McKinley supporting the latter, and about a teaspoonful of anomalies supporting the former. So you have to decide how you value evidence and what evidence you value over others. And the presence of anomalies in sets of data do not indicate a conspiracy or, God forbid, the polar opposite being true. It just means they're anomalies and they need to be looked into a little bit deeper. So, yeah, I'm going to be the condescending guy because I'm not going to tell you you're wrong or you're right. I'm going to say we don't know about that one. Yeah, we're not real sure about that. Welcome to the gray area. You want to talk about it? We can talk about it. I'm talking about Penn Jillette. Penn and Teller do anti-conspiracy shows like bullshit. I know. I heard him talking about that. I haven't seen the show, but I'm glad, And that's another thing, facts, lying. Here we go. Let's talk about this. And I got this Time article up here, how to detect lying. When I saw the congressman on CNN today lie directly to the host, and Wolf didn't call him out, I was surprised. It just pissed me off. We don't need that. Plus, how stupid are we if we're going to buy into that shit and just be lied to directly and not even check it? Oh, that drives me nuts. We got to do better than that, folks. Here's the Time article I'm about to reference here. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about detecting lies. Detecting lies, okay? But before we do that, Kevin got the old man bladder. Yeah, so that means that I'm going to have to go do my thing while you do your thing. And in the interim, we will play some fine and stellar high-quality tunes for you just for a moment. This